Once upon a time, in a land far away, nestled between rolling hills and thick, green forests, there lived a wealthy merchant. He had 3 daughters, all of them lovely, but it was the youngest, named Belle, who was the most beautiful of all. It wasn't just her outward appearance that was so striking. Belle had a kind and gentle heart, a love for books, and a spirit full of wonder. Her 2 older sisters, however, were quite different. They were vain and selfish, spending their days dreaming of fine dresses and grand parties. One day, a terrible storm swept across the sea, and the merchant ships, filled with precious cargo, were lost to the waves. Just like that, their great fortune vanished. The family was forced to sell their grand mansion and move to a small cottage in the countryside. While the older sisters complained endlessly about their misfortune and their new, simple life, Belle accepted their fate with grace. She rose early each morning to clean the cottage and tend to the garden, always with a song on her lips, finding joy in the simple beauty of nature. After some time, good news arrived. One of the merchant ships, thought to be lost forever, had safely arrived in a distant port. Overjoyed, the merchant prepared for the long journey to reclaim his goods. Before he left, he asked his daughters what gifts they would like him to bring back. The 2 eldest sisters immediately asked for expensive gowns, sparkling jewels, and fancy slippers. But when the merchant turned to Belle, she simply said, "All I wish for is your safe return, father. But if you happen to find one, I would love a single, perfect rose." Her father smiled, touched by her simple and loving request, and promised to bring her the finest rose he could find. The merchant's journey to the port was successful, and he was once again a wealthy man. On his way home, however, his good fortune took a turn. A sudden fierce blizzard descended upon the forest he was traveling through. Lost and freezing, he despaired until he saw a faint light flickering in the distance. He followed it and came upon a magnificent enchanted castle. The massive gates swung open on their own, as if to welcome him inside. He called out, but no one answered. Hesitantly, he stepped into the grand hall. A warm fire blazed in the hearth, and a long table was laden with a delicious feast. Still, there was no sign of anyone. Exhausted and hungry, the merchant ate his fill and found a comfortable room to rest for the night. The next morning, as he prepared to leave, he walked through the castle's stunning gardens. The snow had stopped, and everything was covered in a glittering white blanket. And there, in the middle of the garden, he saw the most beautiful rose bush he'd ever laid eyes on, covered in perfect, vibrant red blooms. Remembering his promise to Belle, he reached out and plucked a single rose. Suddenly, a terrifying roar echoed through the garden. A monstrous beast appeared before him, its eyes blazing with fury. "You ungrateful man!" the beast bellowed. "I gave you food and shelter, and this is how you repay me? By stealing my most precious possession?" The merchant fell to his knees, trembling with fear. "Forgive me, forgive me," he pleaded. "The rose was for my youngest daughter, Belle. I only promised to bring her one." The beast was unmoved. "You will pay for this with your life." He snarled. The desperate merchant begged for mercy, explaining that his daughters were waiting for him. After a moment, the beast made a grim offer. "I will spare your life on one condition. You must send one of your daughters to live here in my castle." The heartbroken merchant had no choice but to agree. He returned home, his heart heavy with dread. He handed the rose to Belle and, through his tears, told his daughters what had happened. The older sisters immediately blamed Belle. "This is all your fault for asking for a silly rose," they cried. But Belle, brave and selfless, would not let her father suffer. "No," she said calmly. "It was my request. I will go to the castle and take his place." Despite her father's protests, Belle's mind was made up. He escorted her to the enchanted castle, their hearts breaking with every step. When they arrived, the beast was waiting. He allowed the merchant to say his goodbyes and then led Belle inside. Belle was terrified, but she was also surprised. The castle was even more magnificent than her father had described. The beast showed her to a beautiful room with a large library filled with more books than she could ever imagine. "Everything in this castle is yours," the beast said, his voice surprisingly gentle. "You will not be a prisoner. You will be its mistress. My only request is that you join me for dinner every evening." As the days turned into weeks, Belle began to see a different side of the beast. Though his appearance was frightening, his actions were kind. He made sure she had everything she needed, and they would spend hours in the library reading and talking together. Every night at dinner, the beast would ask her the same question: "Belle, will you marry me?" And every night, Belle would politely reply, "I cannot, beast." She had grown fond of him as a friend, but the thought of marrying a monster was still too much to bear. One day, the beast showed Belle a magic mirror. In it, she could see her family back at the cottage. She saw that her father had fallen ill from grief, and her heart ached to see him. "Please," she begged the beast, "let me go to him." "I promise I will return in 1 week." The beast looked at her with sad eyes. He had come to care for Belle deeply and couldn't bear the thought of her leaving. But he could not deny her request. "You may go," he said sorrowfully. "But if you do not return in 7 days, I will die of a broken heart." He gave her a magic ring that would transport her home and back again. Belle was overjoyed to be reunited with her family. Her father's health immediately improved upon seeing her. Her older sisters, however, were jealous of the beautiful clothes and jewels the beast had given her. Hearing that she must return in a week, they devised a cruel plan. They showered Belle with affection and begged her to stay just 1 more day, secretly hoping the beast would be angry with her for breaking her promise. Belle, touched by their seeming change of heart, agreed to stay. On the 10th night, Belle had a terrible dream. She saw the beast lying in the castle garden, weak and near death. She woke up in a panic, realizing her mistake. She had broken her promise. Using the magic ring, she instantly returned to the castle. She ran to the garden and found the beast just as she had seen him in her dream, barely breathing. "No, beast, please don't leave me," she cried, cradling his great head in her lap. "I'm back. I'm so sorry." Tears streamed down her face. "I was foolish to leave. I realize now that I love you. Please live. I will marry you." As her tears fell onto him, a magical light enveloped the beast. His monstrous form began to change, transforming into a handsome prince. Belle stared in astonishment. The prince smiled at her. "Belle," he said, "an enchantress cast a spell on me long ago, to be broken only when someone could see past my appearance and love me for who I am. You have broken the spell." The castle was instantly transformed back to its former glory, and the servants, who had been turned into enchanted objects, became human again. Belle and the prince were married, and they invited her father to live with them in the castle. They ruled the kingdom with kindness and wisdom, their love a testament to the fact that true beauty is found not in what the eye can see, but in what the heart can feel. And they all lived happily ever after.